So the news broke this morning from Woj that the Celtics have finally ripped the Band-Aid off. Kemba Walker has officially been traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm sure most of you have seen it. If not, I will put the full trade up on the screen right now. Kemba Walker, the number 16 overall pick and 2025 second-round pick for Al Horford, Moses Brown, and a 2023 second. Now, I want to make myself perfectly clear before I do get into my thoughts about this trade. Yes, 100%, I'm a diehard Celtics fan. That's never going to change. I'm pretty much always going to defend what they do. Seemingly, it really never works out, which, I kind of have learned to expect from the Celtics. But that being said, I'm going to try to give you my unbiased thoughts today. I 100% am going to try to give you my 100% unbiased thoughts on this trade that just happened with Kemba Walker and the Boston Celtics. So as I'm sure the majority of you know, Kemba Walker was signed to the Boston Celtics after a year where Kyrie Irving just seemingly really didn't work out in Boston. And that's fine. Guys don't work out in places. Obviously, some are for injuries, some are for locker room problems, whatever it may be. I think Kyrie's was a little bit of both. I think it was the majority of the locker room issues. But that being said, when we entered that free agency, I'm pretty sure all Celtics fans, myself included, assuming Kyrie was gone, Horford was probably gone, which he ultimately ended up being gone, and we were not really going to be getting anything for either of those two guys, which, again, when we signed Kemba Walker, I was surprised. I was thrilled. I thought we had a future big three that was going to be a 1-2 seed in the Eastern Conference and probably making it to the NBA Finals. That being said, looking back on it now, it was an absolute pipe dream. It just didn't work out. So, Kemba's had his issues here. I think a lot of it was, kind of his role fitting in, the emergence of Jason Tatum as the number one superstar. Yes, he's a superstar in my opinion. I'm biased, I know. I don't think Kemba really minded that. I think the problem with him was Danny Ainge trying to trade him at the deadline, which, again, I'm pretty sure every Celtics reporter has said is true, even though Danny pretty sure declined it himself, or denied it would be a better word. I think they tried to trade him for Drew Holiday at the trade deadline, which I get. It would piss me off, too. If I was the Celtics and if somebody tried to move me, for a piece that they considered better at the trade deadline, I would be mad about it, and I would not want to be there anymore. So, Kemba didn't work out here. The Celtics have traded him. It also should be clear that Kemba Walker over the next 2 seasons is making $73 million. Now, do I think he's going to help the Oklahoma City Thunder in a rebuild? No, I don't think he's going to be there much past. I think that honestly could move him next year, next offseason. But again, we're not going to get into that right now. So what we are going to get into is what I think the value is for both sides here. So I give Brad Stevens credit because, again, I think this is honestly as good as it's going to get. Yes, it sucks trading a multiple-time All-Star for a 36-year-old center that is making a lot of money. I'm not going to lie to you. Al Horford's making a very good amount of money. Not as much as Kemba Walker, but he's still making a lot of money. The most important part of this deal, I will pull up the tweet on the screen right now, is that Al Horford's contract after this season is only $13 million guaranteed. So whether Al Horford's here for a year and then the Celtics trade him to a team that needs a center and wants to contend in whether it's the East or the West next year is a very real possibility. $13 million is much easier to manage than $25 million. It just is. It's a fact. And, the other part of this deal for the Celtics is that they get Moses Brown, who, I believe averaged 9 points, 8 rebounds in around 21 minutes in Oklahoma City. I would give up the 16th overall pick for that pretty much any day of the week, even if that was the straight-up trade. The Celtics have a very bad history of drafting guys that are, later than any pick probably than Jaylen Brown was. It just seemingly never works out. Peyton Pritchard's been a nice surprise. Aaron Nesmith's kind of emerged as a good shooter off the bench. But the Celtics are not going to hit a home run with a 16th overall pick. It's just not going to happen. The Celtics are not nearly as good as drafting as the Oklahoma City Thunder are. That's an absolute fact. I'm happy with this move if I'm the Celtics. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very happy with this move. You're not getting Porzingis for Kemba. It just was never going to happen. I do not think that the Dallas Mavericks had any interest in acquiring a 32-year-old point guard with a history of knee injury problems to pair next to Luka Doncic. And you trade away what? How old is Porzingis? 24, 25 years old, who at one point in his career was considered a unicorn, possibly one of the best young big men in the entire league. I just never thought that was going to happen. So again, I don't want to get too sidetracked right now. Yes, if you're the Celtics, it sucks that yet another All-Star is walking away from you. Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford was an All-Star at one point in his career, and now Kemba Walker. It's not a good look for the city. It's not a good look for the franchise whatsoever. But again, I do think this was a deal that had to get done. So if I'm Oklahoma City here, yes, $73 million for Kemba Walker for the next 2 seasons is not something that's, easy to probably explain to ownership. But getting the 16th overall pick, Sam Presti knows how to draft. That's an absolute fact. I think it's a home run. I do think it's a home run for you. Get rid of Al Horford's contract, who again, as I mentioned, only $13 million guaranteed next season, not this upcoming season. I guess technically it would be next season, but not the 2022-2023 season. It's only $13 million guaranteed. Could Oklahoma City maybe have gone ahead and moved that for maybe another pick It's possible, but I think 16 is a guaranteed pretty high spot in this year's draft. It's probably as high as you are getting for Al Horford, so I really do like this move. From the aspect of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That being said, I don't think Oklahoma City is going to be ready to compete, maybe even contend. They do have a really nice young core, in my opinion, but again, this team's not going to be ready to compete. Probably at a minimum, I'd say 5 years until they maybe even get a really solid chance of actually doing something well. I'm not saying that this team's going to be winning a championship in 5 years, but the foundation is there. So Kemba will definitely be gone by that time. Do I think Sam Presti could maybe look to move that, Kemba Walker contract next offseason? I think it's possible. It's not easy to do. You're probably going to have to eat some of the money if you're Oklahoma City, which just does suck. But I think you can maybe get another pick for him, especially if Kemba plays very well for Oklahoma City this year, which I do think is a possibility. So, good job, Sam Presti. I'm not going to, say that the Celtics won this trade. I'm not going to say the Thunder won this trade. I think it's a very good trade for both sides. But I see the people flaming the Celtics on Twitter. I understand why you're doing it. Back to the Celtics side of this a little bit. Moses Brown, very nice young piece in my opinion. I think him and Robert Williams are probably going to be the two centers the Celtics go forward with in the future. I think he's probably going to be a rotation piece this year. The Al Horford signing, trade. I don't mind having him back here. If you don't watch every Celtics game, you don't really see his impact on the court. If you're just looking at stat sheets, man, you do not get the full understanding, the full picture of what Al Horford actually brings to the Boston Celtics. He's a very good locker room presence, a very good leader on this team, which again, I think there are moments in time this season for the Celtics where they lacked leadership. And I seriously do. I question Brad Stevens' coaching at times. I think everybody did. He's obviously moved on to a bigger role in the front office as the president of basketball operations, Celtics, and still are still looking for a new head coach to lead their team. But that being said, Al Horford comes in here, and I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown did like Al Horford a lot. If you had to make a guess, I'm assuming that Brad Stevens probably ran the trade by both of them before it happened. I hate to break it to you, but that tends to happen. The stars on the team typically get the know-how before it happens because they do want to go ahead and get that approval and they don't want to piss them off. Just my opinion. So again, as I mentioned, it's not easy to, explain to potential free agents that you want to sign to your team how, seemingly so many all-stars have either been traded or walked out of here, seemingly not on the best terms over the past couple of years. It's not something easy to explain. I think all of those guys have different reasons why they ended up leaving this team. I just think that getting rid of Kemba Walker was the right thing to do if you're the Celtics. I'd also like to give credit to Brad Stevens for getting it done so quickly, so you don't have to put us through a summer of wondering when, why, how you're going to trade Kemba Walker. So my thoughts on it as a Celtics fan, I'm happy. I think Al Horford is not what he was when he was here in Boston recently, but I think he's still going to be a pretty good effect on the locker room. I think he's probably more going to be here for leadership. I think he will probably play a decent amount. I just don't think that's really where they see his role so much nowadays. He's almost going to be like kind of a father and a mentor to most of these kids. But again, I seriously do think that his impact is going to be felt both in the locker room and on the court. He's a very good pick and roll player. He's Joel Embiid's father, literally. And, he can be a good spot-up shooter if you honestly need him to be, especially for a guy who's almost 7 feet tall. So, again, I'm not saying that either team really hit a home run on this deal because, again, I think it's pretty fair value for both sides. But, people who are flaming the Celtics right now, I think you're going to, watch what Kemba Walker does in Oklahoma City. And could he put up better numbers than he did in Boston? Probably. But the Oklahoma City Thunder don't have two superstars right now. I hate to break it to you. I also like this deal a lot because I think it takes a lot of pressure off Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he can play a little more off-ball now, and I think Kemba can make some plays for him. So, that being said, if Kemba can play healthy. Kemba can't play back-to-backs. If you're a Thunder fan watching this, I'm just going to inform you now, Kemba cannot play back-to-backs. And I know Al Horford sometimes can't either. So, it's basically, it's moving shit for shit. I mean, that's just the way it is right now. So again, I do like this deal for both sides. I think giving up 16 is kind of a cost of doing business per se. And again, I think Moses Brown is the main piece of this deal that the Celtics wanted. And I think, giving up pick 16, I'd do that trade any day of the week. So those are pretty much my unbiased thoughts. Moving forward for the Celtics, I like the financial flexible financial capability that this deal does give you. I think if we kept Kemba Walker for another season, then tried to move him next offseason, again, I don't think Kemba would have liked his role here for another season. I'm pretty sure I'm happy that it did get done now. And again, I really don't see a way that Kemba was going to work out here for another season. I would have maybe liked to seen him if he wasn't so injury prone on this team, but again, I don't think if he wasn't so injury prone, then I don't think Danny Ainge would ever try to trade him. So those are my basic thoughts right now. You guys can let me know down below your thoughts on the deal. Again, a lot of you are probably going to disagree with me on this, but those are my thoughts from a Celtics fan. I tried to make them unbiased. But I'm excited for the Celtics season. I don't think Brad Stevens is done this offseason. I think he has another pretty big move in mind. So obviously it's fun. You know, you guys know me. I love my offseason news. I love my offseason rumors. You know, it seemingly this one didn't come out of nowhere, but it felt like nothing ever like heated up towards it. I feel like Brad Stevens, you know, called Sam Presti last night at like 9 p.m. and was like, "Hey, you want to get this done?" And you know, by 9 a.m. this morning, it was complete. So I don't know. I'm excited for both of these teams. I don't think Kemba is going to have as much of an effect as you actually think he's going to in Oklahoma City. He's not an all-star anymore. He's very injury prone. He's probably not going to be what you think he is. And again, that same thing could be said about Al Horford in Boston. So feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. You know, I'm excited for the Celtics moving forward. I'm happy that Kemba's finally gone. Who that leaves us at the point guard spot. I hope it's not Peyton Pritchard. I hope we go ahead and sign or trade for somebody else. It means Tristan Thompson's probably going to get traded as well if you're the Celtics, which again, should have happened anyways. Tristan was tremendous in the first round against the Brooklyn Nets. I will say that. But again, really never found his role this year completely as, you know, as this, what was assumed to be probably the starting center when you signed him. I think Daniel Tice kind of took that over for a while, and then they obviously moved on from him. And then Robert Williams kind of emerged. But that going forward, probably a trade incoming for Tristan Thompson. I don't really know what that's going to look like. It's probably just going to be, you know, if I had to imagine, I'm assuming it's Tristan Thompson and a second-round pick to a team for a second-round pick. I don't think it's going to be much. So let me know your thoughts down below. You know, we will have 2 rebuilds upcoming after this video. This is going to be a double upload today. My video later today was actually recorded before this trade, so I don't mention it at all. I'll make sure that's clear in the video. So let me know your thoughts down below. As always, if you guys are new and enjoying these kind of NBA Talks video, feel free to subscribe to the channel. It does help me out a ton. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I love you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.